So now that I am finished and I have everything saved as Photoshop formats, I'm going to get started putting everything together in Photoshop. So in order to do that, I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to go to File, and then I'm going to go down to New. I'm not going to go to Open. I'm going to go to New because I want to start fresh with a new document that is empty and blank instead of a picture. So once I select New, I'm going to save it as my last name. So you would type in your last name here, and then Cubist Collage. The second thing I'm going to do is adjust the size of my image so that it's not super tiny or it's not too big. So I'm going to go to this preset and select Photo, and then you can choose what size. So I might do mine as an 8 by 10, so that's about paper size. I'm going to make sure my resolution is 300 so that it doesn't get too blurry, and then I'm going to hit OK. So this opens up a fresh new document. Now I can start piecing together my images almost like putting together a puzzle. So I'm going to go up to File in order to place my first picture. Now instead of hitting Open, because that will open it into a separate document, I'm going to go down to Place Linked. That way it's just going to place an image onto my screen. I'm going to find where my images were saved. So that is under Desktop, and then I had saved mine as Cubism Images. Now it's important to go all the way down to the bottom where it says PSD, or Photoshop format. That way my images again will be linked so that I can update them with any edit that I make. I'm going to go through my pictures and find an image that shows a lot of my pictures. So for example, I have a picture of a baby here that I'm working with. I want to find a picture that shows most of the face so that as I'm starting to piece things together, again almost like a puzzle, I have something to kind of base it off of. So this picture shows most of the face, so that might be a great image to start with. I'm going to hit Place, and then you'll notice that it pastes the image directly onto my document. So now that I have my image placed, I'm going to start working on where I want it within my document. So in order to do that, I'm going to hold down Command on my keyboard, and then I'm going to hit T, which represents transform. So again, Command T, and then this little box is going to come up, which allows me to adjust the size of my image. So I'm going to click from the corners, and I'm going to hold down Shift, which is extremely important, and I'm going to adjust the size of my image. Now, if you do not hold down Shift, your picture is going to start to stretch. It might get too wide or too thin depending on how you're stretching the picture. You might think you're able to eyeball it, which could come out okay, but most of the time, again, it's going to look a little funky. It's going to take down the professionalism of your image. So make sure that you are holding down Shift as you're resizing so that it does not get out of proportion at all. Once you have that, let go, hit the little check button, and your image will be placed. And then you can work from there, adding other images to your picture. So now I'm going to decide which other images I'm going to place together. So I'm going to go up to File again, down to Place Linked, and then I'm going to scroll through my images until I find one that might be clear, not blurry, might work well with this picture. Here's an image that's a little bit zoomed in on the eye and the nose, so I'm going to place that picture. I'm going to hold down Shift to again adjust the size. It's important to try and find pictures from different angles, different cropping. One thing that you don't want to do, especially if you are working with a portrait of a person, is try and line your pictures up exactly where they would be in real time or real life. So if I was doing that, I would try and line up this eye and try and line up the nose exactly where they would go. It might be a little bit off. It's going to start to look a little bit funky as you start to add more pictures to the image. So try not to place something exactly where it would be. You want to kind of spread them out a little bit, get creative with the placement. So I'm going to hit this little check button as soon as it is how I would like it to look. Now maybe I don't want this little bit of the nose to show on this picture. So if you wanted to maybe cut out or crop part of your image, you can do that. So if you go up to the toolbar on the left side of your screen and select the little box here, the rectangular marquee tool it's called, select the part of your picture that you want to remain. So I want most of the eye to stay here, maybe getting rid of a little bit of the chin, but I do want that left part of the nose out, so I'm going to let go, and I have my selection here. Then what I'm going to do is add a mask. So just like in multiplicity images that we were working with, you're going to go down to the bottom here, this little box with the circle in it, and click Add Layer Mask. Now as soon as I click that, it's going to mask off and get rid of the part of my image that I did not want or was not selected. Now I know most of you are used to the workflow that we've been using, where you adjust levels, you adjust the lighting on the face, the S-curve. So we can still do that within these images, and it's definitely important and would be good for you to do that with all of your images here. So you can either adjust the levels and curves before you place all of your images, so maybe I just want to adjust these two, or if you wanted to wait until the end when you had everything put together, you could adjust your images then. But I'm going to adjust the two that I have right now. So in order to do that, it's super easy since we have them linked as Photoshop documents. All you have to do is double click on the picture in your layers panel, and it's going to open up your image. So I have my image opened, so now I can just go through that regular workflow that we are used to. So I'm going to go up to Layer, New Adjustment Layer. I can adjust the levels. So I'm going to go here, make it a little bit darker. And then all I have to do is go up to File, Save. It's going to save my image. And then when I go back to my other document, you can see the picture in the back, which is the picture we just edited the levels on, is a little bit darker. So you can tell that it was adjusted to the levels. So you can continue and do the rest of your pictures using the workflow that we are used to. So now I'm going to go ahead and continue to add different layers of images. You do need to have at least 10, so make sure that you are adding as many as you can at first, and then you can play around with which pictures you might want to delete, which pictures you might want to get rid of, which ones are working well for you. So let's see. Let's go ahead and add this picture here. I'm going to place it. I'm going to adjust the size. And I'm going to pick a spot that I might want this picture to go. Now maybe for this image, I just want the eyes to be visible. So what I can do is select the eyes with this marquee tool, and then I'm going to add a mask to that layer, and you can see that the eyes do show up and everything else gets deleted. From there, I would just continue to go through, do the workflow. You can maybe even turn some of your images black and white, keep some in color. So to do that, I'm just going to go down to my hue and saturation under the adjustment layers and take my saturation all the way down so that it's black and white. I'm going to go to File, Save. And then when I go back to my original image, you can notice that it updates and that picture becomes black and white. So this might be a fun idea to mess around with the saturation. Maybe some are halfway black and white, some are in color. So that's always good to experiment with. Here's a nice example of a finished Cubist collage. If you notice, all of the images are in black and white, which looks nice. There's a nice black background that was added. Looking at all of these pictures, you'll notice that it was not put together to look exactly like one dog. So you can see that the eye is found in multiple areas. The nose is found in multiple areas. There's different angles. The top of the head is at the top of the image as well as a little bit in the middle here. So the way that it was put together works nicely, so your eye moves around the picture. and it's not just put together like one dog. Different parts are found in different areas. So get creative, try and use different angles, put things in different places. Here's another example of an image of a person. Now putting together images, Cubist collage images of people might be a little bit tricky, so playing around with the placement of different parts such as the eyes, the lips, and the nose is really important. So get creative, experiment a lot, but this is a nice example of that. And the last example here I have to show is a good example of an instrument being put together, each of the pictures arranged in different ways. If you'll notice, some of the pictures even have vignettes added. Some of them have these boxes around them. If you go on to the next tutorial, it's going to talk about adding some of these finishing touches, which is a great idea. It takes a picture from looking unfinished to really nice, finished, and complete. So I would definitely recommend going on to the next tutorial, take a look at how to do some of those extra effects to your picture.